Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man's Core Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm reacting to my second Nightmare Files video for you guys, and this was titled Three Creepy True Home Horror Stories featuring Mr. Haunted. Seeing Mr. Haunted's name in the title, I figured this is going to be a good video. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera back up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okay, up, here we go. Nightmare Files.
One evening when I was in my junior year of high school, my mom and dad went out, leaving me home alone.
Okay.
I had a lot of homework to do, so I spent the whole evening sitting at a desk in my bedroom. My parents left the house around 6 p.m. When I was doing my homework, I put on my headphones and I listened to loud music.
Yeah, sometimes I would do that too if I had homework to do on my computer. Open up another tab and just listen to music while trying to get some homework done, but sometimes it could be more like a distraction. But anyway, let's continue.
There was a big storm that night, and my desk was facing the window, so I could see the rain and the lightning outside. My parents got back around 11 p.m. When I saw their car drive up, I took off the headphones. As soon as my mom opened the front door and came inside, I heard her shout out my name. What on earth happened in here? She demanded in an angry voice. Confused, I ran downstairs. My mom was standing in the hallway with a furious look on her face. She pointed at the floor and yelled, "Was this you?" I looked down and I saw that the carpet was covered in muddy footprints. "I have no idea how those got there," I said. "I spent the whole night at my desk doing my homework." I watched as the look on her face change from anger to confusion, and then to fear.
Yeah, if you see muddy footprints on your carpet, I get some parents would be upset thinking that it's their child, but if they said, honest to God, that they were at their desk doing the homework, then you should automatically know, okay, someone else broke into the house. They're probably still here. But thankfully, the mom calmed down and was able to process what she just heard from her kid and not be so angry at him. Might want to call the cops, just in case.
We both realized at the same time that someone else must have been in the house. We followed the trail of footprints, trying to make sense of the whole situation. They started at the back door, which we usually left unlocked. Then we noticed something else. The footprints started at the back door, but there was no trail of footprints leaving through the back door. All of a sudden, we hear something loud, a pounding noise that echoed throughout the house. Then the sound of the front door being wrenched open and slammed shut again. We all ran into the garage and locked the door behind us. My mom took out her cell phone and called the police. She told them to come quickly as she shouted that someone's in our house. After what seemed like hours, a patrol car arrived with two police officers, a male and a female. One officer stayed with us in the garage, while his partner went through the house, searching room by room. When she came back, the female officer told us that there was no one in the house, and it was safe to go back in. As we were all breathing a high sigh of relief, she asked, "Whose bedroom is upstairs on the left?" My parents looked at me. "It's mine," I told the officer. She asked us to follow her. As we walked through the house, we could see the trail of muddy footprints leading from the back door, through the living room, through the hallway, up the stairs, into my parents' bedroom, then towards my room. They stopped at my doorway. The female officer pointed at my door, which had been open the whole night. Scrawled on it in black marker was the following: 8:47, I see you. 8:53, you forgot to lock the back door. 8:59, you seemed focused. 9:24, turn around. 9:47, look at me. 10:15. Look at me.
Holy Jolito. Seems like they're dealing with some sort of psychopath that is really keeping an eye on that boy for some odd reason. But it'd be creepy just to find a schedule that he written down, but then at certain times he kept saying, "Look at me," like he wanted to be noticed. I'm surprised that boy did not even pay attention in the corner of his eye to see him like standing there. Oh man, I'd be creeped out.
10:37. Look at me. 10:49. Look at me. For more than 2 hours, someone had been standing in my doorway, watching me. To this day, I still shudder to think what would have happened if I had just turned around.
If you turned around, you would have been at the mercy of that crazy dude that broke into your house. He probably would have ran towards you and tried to grab you and kidnap you probably. But thankfully your mom was there and he called the cops and made sure the house was cleared for you to go back in. But dang, I've been looking for another house to live in at that point because I'd be scared if that creepy dude would try to get back in. All this would have been avoided if that boy remembered to lock the back door. But anyway, let's get on to story number 2.
When I was a little girl, my parents took me to visit my grandmother. She lived in a little village in the countryside. Her cottage was very small and there was only one bedroom. My grandmother slept in one bed. My parents slept in the other, and I had to sleep on some cushions on the floor. We stayed there for a few weeks and I was troubled by terrible nightmares. Every night, I would wake up screaming. My parents tried to calm me down and asked me what was wrong. All I could tell them was that there was a man coming to get me. I can still remember the cause of my terror. Every night, I saw a shadowy figure emerge from behind the curtains in the corner of the room. Okay, first of all, I remember them days when me and my mom stayed with my grandma, which is her mom, and me and her would sleep on the floor with like a inflatable mattress. And I remember one time me and mom and dad slept in the bedroom of my dad's mom's house when our heating was out. Sometimes it would feel creepy just being in a different house to sleep in instead of the one you already grew up in, you know. But imagine seeing a shadow figure coming out of the curtains. I would have been freaking out too. He was a pitch black man. All I could make out was his silhouette. He was tall and he was hairy. I would watch in horror as he came crawling towards me with a sickening slowness. He came up to me and he whispered something in my ear. And just as I was about to scream, he would place a finger against his lips and whisper, "Shush, shush, shush." He tortured me every night to the point where I dreaded going to sleep. As time went on, he began to appear not only at night, but also during the day. One evening, we were all watching TV in the living room, and at some point, I happened to glance to my left. The curtain slowly drew back, and I saw the man standing there, staring silently at me. He raised his hand, put his finger to his lips, and whispered, "Shush, shush, shush." Oh, heck no. If it's during the daytime and you're watching a movie with your family, I'd be like tapping on either the mom or dad's shoulder, be like, "Look over there at the curtains." And if they see him, it'd be like, tackle him down if he's a real guy. But if he's nothing more than like a evil entity and they don't see him, I don't know what to tell you. This is getting creepier by the minute. I let out a horrified scream and immediately told my mother what I had seen. She got up and went over to the curtains, pulling them back and forth, showing me that there was nothing there. But of course, by then, he had already disappeared. When the holiday was over, we went back to our apartment in the city and the nightmare stopped. After that, my grandmother would always come visit us. So we never went to her cottage on a vacation again. As time went on, I stopped thinking about the man and eventually forgot about him altogether. One summer, when I was 13 years old and my little brother was 5 years old, we went to stay with my grandmother again. My parents were in the kitchen, having a cup of tea with my grandmother. They asked me to get my little brother ready for bed. When I was preparing a mattress on the floor for both of us to sleep on, my little brother was sitting on one of the beds. I noticed that he was being usually quiet. When I looked up, I saw that he was staring at something. "What's wrong?" I asked. Then suddenly he jerked his head around and looked at me, his eyes wide with fear. He looked at me, pointing at the curtains. The shush man is standing there. Needless to say, my brother and I spent the night sleeping in the kitchen, and we never went to visit my grandmother's cottage again.
I was just about to say that shush man you're describing must be attached to your grandma somehow. I don't know how that will work, but maybe he's somebody that used to live in that house or someone she knows that's still attached to that property. Beats me. But then it'd be kind of creepy that when your grandma comes to visit, he shows up there. And at this point, it'd be useless to tell your parents because they probably think you're making it up. But I mean, if both kids see him, they'll be terrified to even go back to their grandma's cottage or even her visiting ever again. At this point, I'd be like shouting out in the name of God, be gone, just to see what he would do.
A month ago, my girlfriend and I got engaged. We moved into a new apartment and began living together. It was the first time either of us had shared an apartment, so it was a new experience for the both of us. We were deeply in love. I knew she was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, and I thought she felt the same about me.
Okay, here's Mr. Haunted. I was wondering when he was going to start narrating the story. Save the best for last. But also, that sounds cool that this guy that sent the story in said he found the one that he wants to spend the rest of his life with. But let's just see if she is really the one or something bad about to happen with her. I don't know. Don't want to jump ahead here.
Everything went well until 2 weeks ago, when I noticed that my girlfriend was acting very strange. She had become so attached to me that it felt like she couldn't stand being away from me for more than a moment. One evening, she said to me, "Darling, when you're not at home, I still feel you're near me." I didn't attach much importance to these words. I thought she was just being affectionate.
Okay, I think you might be dating someone that might be really attached to you, meaning that she can't stop looking at you and probably a little crazy in the head. Oh dear.
However, a few days later, she told me something else. "Whenever you're at work," she said, "I often hear your voice, as if you were calling my name." This began to happen more and more as the days went by, and I started to get a little worried about her. One day, when I arrived home from work, I found her sitting silently at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the wall with a glazed look in her eyes. I grabbed a chair, sat down beside her, and asked her what was the matter. "I think there's something wrong with me," she said. "Why would you think that?" I asked. "I saw you today," she said. "You walked from the kitchen into the bedroom and then you stood back to me, staring out the window." "But I was at work all day," I said. "I know," she replied with a sigh.
Okay, I'm starting to think that maybe she's having a mental lapse. You might want to get her checked out, or she's literally having a conversation with someone that she thinks is you. And if that's the case, I'll be checking every part of the house just to make sure nobody's there to ease her mind.
That's when I really began to worry. I suspected that my girlfriend was losing her mind and starting to have hallucinations. Over the next few days, she kept telling me that she saw me in the apartment when I was at work. She could even describe exactly what I was wearing. My girlfriend was also acting more and more strange. She was getting more and more quiet, and she was terrified of being left alone. Sometimes she would just sit there silently staring at me. Last night, my girlfriend was very tired and decided to go to bed early. I held her hand and sat on the edge of the bed as she was falling asleep. Just before she nodded off, she said, "You're not here." "Honey, I'm right here," I replied. "Don't worry, everything is fine." "No, you're not here," she said. "You're in the kitchen." Just then, I heard a dull noise coming from the kitchen. It sounded like a chair scraping across the linoleum. Then, I heard the sound of footsteps walking down the hallway. Fear gripped my heart, and I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, the handle on the bedroom door began to turn, and the door slowly began to open. Maybe it's just a draft, I thought as my eyes grew wide with fear. But it wasn't a draft. The door swung open, and I saw a man standing there in the doorway. It was me. It's difficult to describe exactly what I saw. It was me, but at the same time, it wasn't me. It was as if I was staring at myself in a mirror, but the other me had cold, lifeless eyes. The other me looked at me for a moment and then turned and left, shutting the door behind him. It took me a moment to recover from the shock, and then I sprang off the bed and ran after him. The hallway was empty. I checked the kitchen, then the bathroom, but he was nowhere to be found. The other me simply vanished. It was terrifying. And then, as I stood in the hallway, trying to figure out what had just happened, trying to calm myself down and convince myself that it was just a hallucination, I heard a faint voice coming from the kitchen. It wasn't my voice. It was the voice of my girlfriend. "We are here to stay," she said. "Forever." I realized that my girlfriend wasn't in the kitchen. She was lying in the bedroom, exactly where I had just left her seconds before. I was so frightened, I started trembling like a leaf. I ran into the bedroom, grabbed my girlfriend, and dragged her with me out the front door. We left in my apartment in that very moment and spent the night in my parents' house. Tomorrow, we will go back to pick up our things. I still can't understand what had happened in that apartment, but neither of us can bear to spend another night in there. Hopefully, when we pick our things up, all will be well and no one will be there.
Okay, my mind is bamboozled at this point because he hears some commotion down in the kitchen, and when he goes to chase the person out, they're gone. And then he hears somebody else saying, "You and me are forever," or something. And his girlfriend is literally sleeping in the bedroom. At this point, I would have done the same thing. Pack up and go. Makes you wonder, was there somebody breaking into their apartment just to mess with them in the mind, or they literally have some ghost activity in there? I don't know. But that is creepy. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Nightmare Files content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and that's a wrap, and have a nice day.